Good evening, Nick. It is Monday, and I think in your last video you mostly nailed it down when you said that you're an adult basically when you're responsible and are able to take care of things. But I'm not 100% sure that it's the full story. I mean, there are tons of people that we would classify technically as adults that are just not responsible. People who don't necessarily show up for appointments on time. People who don't prioritize properly, who don't plan, who don't budget. Like those are people, and these are people that are like in their mid 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s. People that just never learn to properly handle responsibility, and they're still technically adults. And therein lies, I think, some of the issue with you're saying that like responsibility and being able to handle responsibility is what makes us an adult. Because I think what a lot of makes people an adult is when other people think that you should basically have your priorities down and other people think that you should start being responsible. For example, Nick, like you or I may not 100% feel responsible, but if we gotta pay rent, we gotta pay rent. And there are other people who have that expectation that you and I would pay our rent. I think that's where it lies, is the expectation of responsibility, which is why some people get really frustrated with people who should be adults, who should know better, and who should take care of things and then don't. Because, I mean, how frustrating would it be if you made an agreement with somebody that they would owe you money and then they do not pay you at the properly appointed time? You expected them to be responsible and then they weren't. I I mean, I would say that that person, even though they didn't live up to their responsibility, is still an adult because there is a reasonable expectation of responsibility. And I think that's really what separates children from adults. There are plenty of children and teenagers who are far more responsible than people who are middle aged adults, but there's not the expectation, the reasonable expectation of them necessarily being responsible because they don't have the life experience necessary. But there comes a point where we do have a reasonable expectation. We do think people should take care of things responsibly. And I think that's more of what makes somebody an adult than them actually necessarily being themselves responsible. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe we should not be classifying adults who we classify as adults actually as adults. I don't know. Feel free to argue either way. And maybe I'll see you on Wednesday, Nick.